You wake up early every morning. You go to work, you work hard, you earn your salary. Maybe you save a little money at the end of the month. But deep down, there's this quiet thought in your head. How do people actually become rich? Because look around, you don't have rich friends. You don't come from a wealthy family. No one taught you about investing. No one gave you a business opportunity. And every time someone gives advice, it sounds like the same boring thing. Work hard. Save money. Invest in yourself. Okay. But what does that actually mean? Because here's the truth. Millions of people work hard their entire lives and never become wealthy. So the real question isn't how hard you work. The real question is, where does wealth actually start? And look, this might surprise you because the first step toward becoming rich is not starting a business. It's not investing in stocks. And it's definitely not waking up at 5 a.m. The first step is something almost nobody talks about. My name is T. Not a day goes by without me imagining myself as a millionaire. If you're someone who works a 9 to 5, saves a little money, but secretly wonders if you'll ever become wealthy, this video is the answer to all your problems. Now look, I used to think becoming rich required 3 things: money, connections, or genius-level intelligence. But here's the thing. When you study wealthy people long enough, you start noticing something strange. Most of them didn't start with any of those things. Instead, they started with something far more powerful. Something that almost nobody talks about, and once you understand it, you start seeing money differently. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth almost never starts with money. It starts with an informational advantage, an edge, a tiny pocket of knowledge that most people ignore. One of the smartest investors who ever lived, Charlie Munger, once said something incredibly simple. Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Now that sounds like basic advice. But the deeper meaning is powerful, because the people who become rich don't just work harder than everyone else. They understand something before everyone else does. And that understanding becomes their advantage. Now let me challenge something most people believe. Most people think wealth comes from working more hours, but the math doesn't support that idea. Let's say someone earns $25 per hour. Even if they work 40 hours a week, that's $1,000 per week, $4,000 per month, $48,000 per year. Now imagine they work extremely hard for 30 years. They would earn about $1.44 million total income. That might sound like a lot, but here's the reality. According to data from Federal Reserve System, the average American household nearing retirement has less than $300,000 in savings. Think about that. People work for 30 or 40 years and still retire without real wealth. So, clearly, working hard is not the wealth formula. This is where it gets really interesting, because when you study billionaires, entrepreneurs, and investors, a pattern starts appearing. Take Mark Cuban. Before he became a billionaire, he was broke. He slept on his friend's couch. But he did something unusual. Instead of randomly trying businesses, he became obsessed with learning about computers and software networks in the 1990s. He read manuals. He studied systems. He learned faster than everyone around him. Eventually, that knowledge turned into a company. That company became Broadcast.com, and in 1999, it sold for $5.7 billion. Now look, the money came later, but the knowledge advantage came first. Another billionaire entrepreneur, Peter Thiel, asks a question that can completely change how you think about wealth. He asks, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? Now look, that question sounds philosophical, but it has a very practical meaning. It means wealth often comes from seeing opportunities before the crowd does. Think about it. If everyone already agrees something is valuable, the opportunity is already gone. Here's the big idea. Wealth comes from building what I call a personal monopoly of knowledge. That means you become extremely knowledgeable about one specific area where money flows. Not everything, just one thing. Let me give you an example. Instead of trying to learn business, marketing, investing, crypto, real estate, stocks, trading, you focus on one ecosystem. For example, YouTube. Real estate investing in one city, a specific online business model. Digital marketing for a niche industry. The goal isn't to know a little about everything. The goal is to know more than almost everyone else about one thing. This is exactly how Warren Buffett started. When he was young, he did something most people would consider extremely boring. He read thousands of financial statements. Literally thousands. Day after day. Year after year. While other people were chasing quick money. He was building an informational advantage. Eventually, that advantage allowed him to identify investments that other people didn't understand. And that advantage turned into hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth. Now here's the psychological part. Why don't most people build an edge? Because our brains are wired for immediate rewards. Learning deeply about one subject is slow. It's boring at first. There's no instant payoff. Psychologists call this delayed gratification. And according to long-term research from Stanford University, people who can delay gratification are far more likely to achieve long-term success. But here's the twist. Once knowledge compounds, the rewards become enormous. Let me show you something powerful. Imagine you spend 1 hour per day studying one money ecosystem. That's 7 hours per week, 30 hours per month, 365 hours per year. Now imagine doing that for 5 years. That's over 1,800 hours of focused learning. By that point, you will understand that field better than 95% of people. And here's the crazy part. The opportunities in that field will start appearing everywhere, because once you understand something deeply, your brain starts recognizing patterns. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how do I turn knowledge into money? Great question. Here's the next step. Small experiments. Instead of trying to build a huge business immediately, you run small tests. For example, if your ecosystem is YouTube content, you study successful channels, you analyze titles, you examine thumbnails, you learn storytelling structure. Then you create 10 experimental videos. Not 1, not 2. 10. Why? Because each experiment gives you data, and data gives you insight. A few years ago, a guy started studying YouTube channels that never showed their faces. He noticed patterns. Certain topics always went viral. Certain titles triggered curiosity. Certain video structures kept viewers watching. So, he started experimenting, uploading video after video. Eventually, one of them exploded, then another. Within a few years, his channel generated millions of dollars in ad revenue. Not because he was lucky, but because he understood the patterns behind success. So, if you're serious about becoming wealthy, here's what I would do. For the next 90 days, follow this blueprint. Step 1. Choose one money ecosystem. Examples include online businesses, YouTube content, real estate investing, e-commerce. Step 2. Study the top 20 winners in that field. Analyze everything, how they structure their work, how they attract customers, how they scale. Step 3. Document patterns. What works repeatedly? What fails? Step 4. Run small experiments. Launch small projects. Test ideas. Measure results. Step 5. Refine your approach. Each experiment improves your knowledge advantage. This is where it gets really interesting. Because eventually something happens. Your knowledge reaches a point where opportunities become obvious. You start seeing things other people miss. A gap in the market. An overlooked niche, a better way to deliver value. And when that happens, you're no longer just working for money, you're creating it. Look, if you feel behind in life, if you don't have connections, if you don't come from wealth, good. Because that means you're starting exactly where most successful entrepreneurs started, with curiosity and hunger. But here's the truth most people never hear. Becoming rich is not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about understanding something valuable before everyone else does. And that process starts today. Not with money, not with connections, but with focused learning. If you want to become wealthy, start building your knowledge monopoly today. Pick one ecosystem, study it deeply, experiment relentlessly, and watch how opportunities begin appearing in places you never noticed before. If this video changed the way you think about money, subscribe to the channel. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about getting rich. We break down the real psychology and mathematics behind wealth. And trust me, this is only the beginning.